Hey, this is Dr. Josh Han, and you're listening to Lifestyle Locker Radio, episode 89. Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Han, and welcome to Lifestyle Locker Radio, where we dive into what makes an awesome lifestyle. From relationships to money mindset, nutrition to fitness, emotional health to peak performance, we bring you on an amazing journey to unleashing your human potential. Hey, so today, everybody, I'm actually recording this in my kitchen, actually my dining area, if I want to be 100% correct. And so if you do hear my AC kick on, or if you do hear my dog bark at me because I'm talking to myself, I apologize, but I want to keep this real as I possibly can. So today's message is actually pretty cool, and I'm not sure how long we're going to go, maybe a few minutes, it may be longer. But I'll tell you this, we just got back, my wife and I, and actually a group of friends got back from an amazing journey. We did a boat trip. We actually took our own boat. We have a 27-foot Rinker Fiesta V, so if you wanted to look it up, it's a medium, small size boat. It's a little cabin cruiser, enough for two people really comfortably on a trip. More of a weekend style boat, but we took this on a 1 week, 320 plus mile round trip journey down the Hudson Valley out into Long Island Sound, to a couple different places, out to Block Island, and then back. This was such an amazing journey. You know, I'm not going to go into detail on too many of the things, but I want to share some of the things with you because there are a lot of lessons learned for me, and the overall lesson of the trip is us also we'll share later. You know, we started out planning to leave on a Saturday, and in the morning there were torrential thunderstorms, and we had our go time set to the point that in boating, tides make a difference, currents make a difference, winds make a difference, and obviously the time we need to travel makes a difference. And there are certain waypoints or different areas we will go through on this boating trip. In the beginning, that timing is very, very crucial because of rough water, because of the challenge of it. So Mother Nature decided to throw some thunderstorms at us. We were going to be leaving, heading to our boat at about 5 a.m. and we were postponed. You know, couldn't change that. You know, I was kind of ticked off because I had this all mapped out, knowing our speed and all this different stuff. And what it came down to was this. We ended up leaving. You know, we were going to leave at 6 a.m. was like our actual, boat out of the marina on our way on our journey. And we ended up leaving, I believe it was around 12 p.m. or 1 p.m., which was well beyond what we needed to do. And by us, the tides shift every 6 hours or so. So in tracking all this, it was kind of putting things in the opposite direction we wanted them, but we know we needed to leave because we wanted to reach our next destination before dark, because we don't want to be stuck traveling in dark, which is not necessarily the worst thing, but things have to go a little bit slower because of, in a car you have headlights. I'm just going to kind of paint this picture for you. On a boat, you don't use headlights. And what can happen on the water, which may be different than on land, if you're driving a car without headlights, you can just picture what that would be like if, you have no street lamps or no other cars around. If they maybe even had their license plate light on, that's the brightest you'd see them. But driving on the water or captaining a boat on the water, you can have obstructions in the water that you don't see. And it can be a log, it could be a telephone pole, it could be, in some cases, I guess it could be a whale or something. I didn't think we would have that problem, but I didn't want to hit something that could damage the boat, sink the boat, hurt us, stop us, get us stranded on the boat for a little bit. So we headed out, and I had to just be at peace with myself because I was like, shit, we want to leave early and we can't leave early. And as the universe had it, it ended up being such an amazing trip. We ended up stopping down in the Long Island Sound at the first little stop in Port Washington, New York, on the north side of Long Island. Met a great friend as a chiropractor, brought us to a great spot to get some food. We got adjusted. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. And then we ended up to our last journey. And this was the coolest part. And I don't know if this would have happened earlier, but we're cruising and it's getting close to sunset. And the video is actually on our Facebook page, the live, of how calm the water was in the Long Island Sound. It was almost as if we were on a little pond. It was smooth as glass. The setting was stunning. The freaky part was that there were no other boats on the water, which was weird, but so cool because the Long Island Sound was ours. I mean, we just got to cruise real comfortably. We have a V8 engine on the boat, which, makes a lot of noise. But the peace of, standing up and having the wind in your hair, feeling and smelling that salt air and not having anything in your way and not having anything around you, knowing we had our GPS coordinates set and we just knew we needed to go. It was awesome. I'm so grateful. And we ended up getting, so the cool part is we ended up getting right to our, location, which is Port Jefferson, New York. We ended up getting there at sunset just as it was getting dark. So it ended up working out awesome. So that's kind of a little first lesson. And as we go forward, we stop at Montauk, New York, which is all the way at the tip. We go through one of the more supposedly treacherous areas called Plum Gut. That sounds weird, right? Don't ask me how they come up with these names, but they do. And we make it through, no problem, some choppy seas, and get to Montauk, which is that tip we said. And again, another challenge. We kept on having these little challenges, but what my wife kept on reminding me is this, and this is a great lesson to learn, because we all do things a little different, and I shouldn't say me, I can tend to react to certain situations versus respond. And, she kept on telling me, listen, no matter what gets thrown at you on this trip, just be calm and think, and then we'll take action together so we can make it work. Because one, we haven't been able to put our boat in a docking situation like every place we might have been. We weren't anchoring in different types of seas, or what's on the bottom of the water actually makes a difference, whether it's sand or mud or there's seagrass under there. So we get to our second anchorage, or place where we're going to be in a marina. And the first marina was great. We get to it, to give you an idea, and their dock hands come out. I'm like, wow, this is pretty neat. They come out, they take your lines off your boat, they help walk your boat into the slip. I mean, it was kind of like valet for boating. Really cool, really nice. The second one was kind of an old-fashioned, old-school, like people at this marina have been there for like 100 years. And yeah, the slip that we had to get into, the boating slip, which is a parking spot, was not like anything we've ever had to do. It had no sides on it, just had a back on it. We had to get our boat lines, our dock lines, on different areas to kind of make sure the boat didn't spin and twist and bang into other boats. So, needless to say, I'm back here talking to you right now that we made it through all of this, and I really have to thank my wife, Meredith, for this, because I would have freaked out. I'm pretty calm most of the time, but some of these situations were a little freaky in a sense that it ticked me off, made me frustrated and angry that we had not done it before, that it was our first time, and we had the potential to get hurt or whatever, but she kept me calm. I'd say 99.9% of the time, and things worked out. So like my message so far for you is, in life, we have to, we have to go with the flow. Sometimes we want to create the flow, and nature or life or the situation just doesn't want it to be that way. And you know what? That's okay. For us, it ended out perfect. The universe has always got a message for you. It's always got a plan for you, whether you want it or not. So if you put the time and effort and practice in, things are going to show up in a positive way for you. And the second thing is this so far, is it being able to react versus respond. in situation, or sorry, excuse me, I'm saying that backwards. I want you to respond versus react in certain situations. And this is why. If we respond, that means, we can pause, even if it's for seconds or if that much, and just kind of take an overview and of the lay of the problem or the challenge or the situation, and make the proper choices to get done what needs to get done, versus react, whereas you kind of just, it's almost like a freak out where you just kind of make things happen. And a lot of times if we're reacting to a person in a situation, I might be like yelling at someone, or in a car, like something freaks you out and you slam on the brakes or slam on the gas, and usually good things don't happen to this. So for me, it was responding is being present with the situation you're in, and then enjoying the response that comes from taking the time to think and then take the action steps you need to take. So that's the message so far. So as our journey goes on, we make it all the way out. This is really cool for us. Whole trip, make it to Montauk for us was the first amazing thing. Making it to the first destination was the first amazing thing, because we had never really been more than an hour plus or minus a little bit in either direction of our marina, because when we didn't know what to do or where to go. But now this trip, we're at about 140 plus miles into our trip. We're in Montauk, and now we have to make our first, I want to call it like our leap of faith. And it wasn't really a leap of faith, our boat was ready, the engine, everything's working, so on and so forth. But we have 20 miles of open ocean between Montauk, New York, where we were anchored in the marina, to Block Island. And, we've been on a ferry out to this island months before, and the ferry's over 100 feet long, I believe. And there were rough seas, and we were going up and down. So we realized we're in a little boat. It's 27 feet long, and we have the potential to have choppy water. Weather can change pretty quickly. Waves, other boats, whatever it may have been. But we ended up having an amazing journey all the way out to Block. So that was a nerve-wracking starting the journey, but it ended up being absolutely amazing. And the neat part about this, and I've posted this on social media, is uncertainty. Sometimes going into a situation where you're not 100% certain what the outcome is going to be leaves room for growth. And a friend today, as I'm recording this, posted something on Instagram to thank him. It was a boating thing, and it says, "Calm seas." I believe it was calm seas doesn't make a better sailor. So challenges make you better in life, right? Things that kind of are hard to do make you a better person, or make you a better athlete, or make you a better business person, or make you a better just human being, period. So we're going to Block Island. We don't have a marina we're staying at. We were hoping, crossing our fingers, that that's something called a mooring, which is kind of like these floating, looks like a buoy or a bobber if you've ever been fishing, a giant one that has a big, heavy, like 300, 400, 500 pound weight at the bottom, where you can attach your boat to, so you don't need to put an anchor down. And they're very sturdy. They stay in place probably almost 100% of the time, unless some kind of hurricane is coming through, which there wasn't. But we were praying that we get a public mooring. We were showing up on a Monday going, great, we'll get a public mooring, so we won't have to think about, our anchor dragging. And what that means is the anchor is something that should hold us in place. It's being set. It's like getting locked down. It's like putting an emergency brake on a car and a parking brake at the same time. It's keeping you put. So an anchor should do that. When it's set, it will do that. What happens sometimes with anchors that are not set perfectly, or even if they were set, sometimes weather and wind and currents and things shift, and you can actually start to what we call drag your anchor. So it starts to just slide across the bottom slowly, and sometimes you don't notice it's happening until it's completely pulled and you start drifting. And if you're on the boat and you're conscious and aware, you see it. So we wanted a mooring, so we didn't have to even think about possibly dragging our anchor and going, holy crap, what can happen? What's going to happen? So we get there before all the sailboats, our friends have sailboats, and we drive through those holes called the mooring field. So all of these little floating balls everywhere, and every single public mooring is taken. And we're going, oh my God, this is, I was so nervous. I was like, oh, I was hoping this would not happen. So we get to anchor, and I just want to kind of like lay this out. Like when you're taking driving lessons, and you had to, if you listen, you may not even drive yet. But when I take driving lessons and learn how to parallel park, I had to learn how to parallel park a truck called a Suburban SUV, huge, like the size of a pickup truck. But you have to practice this, right? You practice parking and getting the car into the perfect spot. So when you're anchoring, this is kind of the same kind of skill required. And it doesn't mean, you got to move the boat into a certain position, so to say. But what it is, there's, when you let your anchor out and it's being dropped to the bottom of the water, hitting the bottom, whether we said sand or mud, we drop it down, and then you have to have something called scope. And what that means is the length of the rope that's going out. You need a certain amount of length. I'm not going to get into too much detail because this is not a boating podcast. But nonetheless, you have to let a certain amount of line out, which will give you the best probability of your anchor setting in the best place and you not dragging or pulling your anchor and drifting. Important, right? So we know the numbers and the ratios, and we set our first anchor up, and it's kind of difficult because realize if we're letting 100, let's say just an example, we have 100 feet of line out and the anchor at the end and one end in our boat, we have the potential with wind and stuff to kind of go back and forth a little bit. I'm sure many of you have seen boats do this, on a lake or a river, even the ocean. They'll have a little bit of a sway and a swing depending on what's going on. And there are other boats there, so they should be technically doing the same types of things as you're swinging back and forth with wind and current and everything. So our anchor's down. We're there before everybody. Our friend shows up on a sailboat. The anchor, nice and close to us. So we're swinging back and forth. And, me being nervous, I started to let a little more line out to make sure that scope, that distance was really good. And we got a little uncomfortable with my wife how close we were swinging to one of these larger boats. It doesn't move as much because of a lot of weight. They kind of stay put pretty well. Be like you're trying to push a person on an ice skating rink versus trying to push a car or like a Mack truck. If that even makes sense. But nonetheless, so we were swinging a little closer. She said, maybe we should move our anchor. Boat on the other side of us just left. So we ended up pulling our anchor, putting it down, resetting it, and doing the whole 9 yards. And we're going on our day, having a good time, and we end up starting to pull or drag our anchor. And the only way I notice this is usually the scariest way, is that you're getting too close to another anchored boat where you weren't before. And I noticed about 20 feet away, we're getting close to hitting a sailboat. Slowly, we're moving very slowly because the anchor is dragging across the bottom. So I freak out, and this is where the reaction versus response showed up in my life. I reacted. I'm like, holy shit, we're gonna hit this boat. So I get to do all the stuff, get the boat started up, start reeling in the anchor, get the anchor up, and it had tons of grass on it. And my wife's like, we should probably take some of the grass off. I'm like, no, screw it, leave it. Let's reset the anchor. So I move into another position, have a hard time because the wind is blowing at about 30 miles an hour at this point. It is really, really blowing. And I dropped the anchor down. I said, screw, just leave the grass on. The sand will rip it off. It doesn't make a difference. So we dropped the anchor. We let all the scope out. I think we set it. I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. And then we start drifting automatically. So I react again, freak out in a sense. Reacting, I'm like, son of a bitch. One guy comes by in his little dinghy and says, hey, man, I saw you setting your anchor and you had a lot of eelgrass on there that needs to come off. And, Meredith, my wife, looks at me and goes, I said that. And I'm like, she was right 100%. And I let her know, yeah, I got it. I understand. Thank you. I was wrong. And then our friend, it's good to have community around you. And this is another lesson that I learned, that doing things that you love with other people that enjoy doing the same things that you love, this type of community can help you learn faster, can speed up your learning curve, and can allow you to become just better at what you do or enjoy doing without the expense of a huge long time learning or expensive mistakes like hitting another boat, for instance, in our sake. So he came, he said, all right, follow me in my dinghy. So he followed me, he goes, drop your anchor here, put it in neutral. And, so he helped me set this whole thing up. And he goes, set up more line and then more. I'm like, we got to do more. He goes, and then more. So in a sense, I thought what I was doing was correct, where I was off by a certain percentage of length of line. And we got rid of the grass that was on it, obviously. And we set and we stayed there for the next 2 days without dragging or pulling. And we learned our lesson that it's different anchoring in sand as it is in mud, all of this stuff. And then we just got to pay attention. And it worked out perfect. So having that community is great. And, it can save you time, energy, and money, whether you're an athlete learning from another person that has done what you want to do before, or if you're a business person and you want to learn what they've done to help, increase your chances of being more successful in the business world, or whatever it may be. Maybe it's being a better parent or better whatever. So community is huge, and they came through multiple times on our trip, and we learned more lessons as we killed one of our batteries on our boat. Not in a bad way, but it died. Thank God we have 2, so we're able to start our engine and recharge the other battery. But we had these little lessons learned and from friends that have been doing this for more years than we have. And it was so amazing. But the big lesson out of this overall, we ended up making it back. So I'm here. We had an amazing time. It was absolutely awesome. I would totally do it again. And I'll say what every boater probably says at least, a dozen times in their life. I think we need a bigger boat, right? Which we made a couple of years upgrade to something a little bit bigger, which is more comfortable for the two of us, but also because we love to bring people with us and have fun. But nonetheless, the big picture, the real lesson that I want to share with you here is this whole boating journey for us was kind of like a dream or a goal or a little bit of both. And, when we had the dream to do these type of trips, we didn't even have a boat a couple of years ago. It'd be like, oh, maybe we can do it with a friend or whatever it may be. The neat thing is our dream set us in the right direction. We end up getting a great boat, and we were able to take it on this journey, which we planned from last year, and it ended up working out perfectly, with all of our hiccups during it. Now that I look back at it, it's like, wow, those were just little learning experiences. Even if I thought they were little epic failures, there were learning experiences. And I know now for the next year what I need to do. And I plan on doing better next year, learn different places to stay and blah, 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 blah. So we set out a dream and a goal and a target, but we didn't even write this one down or put it on paper. We just put the date down that we were doing it. I guess we did put it down on paper, and we achieved it. We got our boat. We went on this awesome journey, and the lesson that I'm learning now is like, wow, I could have dreamed a little bit bigger. We accomplished this, and it didn't seem like it took so much. It's a consistency and effort. We had to have things in place like finances, but all those things started to fall in place as we prepped. So the message for you is, and how I want you to apply this in your life is make sure if you have a thought like, I would love to do that, I would love to have that, I would love to be part of that, put it down, write on paper, put it down somewhere that you can look at it and see it. I knew our date was coming up for this trip we call our Block Island trip was coming up in August. I knew that. And so it was constantly in my head. And that's the key. So put your dreams and your goals and your targets in your head, and then you can kind of slowly work yourself backwards. With this one, we didn't really, as crazy as it sounds, we didn't really work our way backwards because, our first goal was getting the boat, which we did last year. And then we just set this next target right away that we want to do this Block Island trip, was all our friends on sailboats do it every year and say it's the most amazing trip and it's a ton of fun and you get to hang out with everybody. And so I was all in. I'm more of a, they call it like an omnivert. I'm more of an introvert. I like doing stuff like I'm doing now, talking, into a microphone, recording a podcast. But when I'm with other people that are doing what I love to do, that have that same kind of passion, And we get along, we click, we have an awesome time, and I feel like I can do that forever. So set your goals and your dreams, put them down on paper. Make sure you do that, because just that one little step will make the biggest difference. So you can get deeper into this and kind of work your way backwards, which I still think you should and can do. And now, after being on this trip and being around and walking at marinas and looking at all these, huge boats and yachts and sailboats and everything. It was funny. At one marina, we saw a boat, and when I was in the boathouse at the marina talking to the head of the marina, having to pay for our slip and everything, I was asking about this one yacht, or it's called a mega yacht. Because when we came, they're like, "Oh, pull around the mega yachts, go to this," and I'm like, "Mega yachts." So there was a 200-foot yacht who had 4 boats that were almost the size of my boat on the deck, which were their like fun boats that they come down with like off cranes. They were really cool. And the boat that they tow behind them, so when they go inland, was a boat that was 15 feet longer than mine, which was over $3 million. This gorgeous boat. And I'm like, wow. He goes, "It's for sale if you want." And I was, just asking a question. He goes, I'm like, "It's for sale?" I'm like, "Wait, I have a 27-foot boat. I'm going to be going to a 200-foot mega yacht overnight." He's like, "Oh, it's only $79 million. So, set your targets where you want. But being around all these boats, I don't know if that's something that I would even want. Because we couldn't do the type of trip that we're doing now. I wouldn't mind knowing someone that had that would use it periodically. It's like a mini cruise ship. But what is neat is that we were able to set targets. I got to fly for a couple boats at the marina that I really, that are going to be like dream boats for me, that I'm going to put up. I'm going to save the picture. I'm going to look at them pretty regularly, because, our next boat is not going to be the 200-foot, $79 million yacht overnight. But I know we can have a bigger boat where we can take more people out, which we can do longer trips on, which we can enjoy our summers on. Because if we accomplish what we accomplished, my thought in my head is like, wow, our goal wasn't big enough. All right. It was accomplished. So it's a big win, and I'm accepting this win, and it's awesome. I'm super psyched. We made it back, and our boat's in its slip, and it's one piece. There's nothing broken, nothing damaged. My wife's like, wow, I'm so glad. I thought we were going to come back with some kind of story that we hit this or banged into that or this happened or this broke, and absolutely nothing happened. It all went really well, even with our challenges. So the lesson is, set your goals where you can attain them, but also make sure you have room to let them grow. Even if you've set one that's a little too big and you fail, you have that. Let's say you look at it in increments, right? Like, wow, I made it 80% of the way there. That's a big win if you didn't hit the whole thing, right? So start setting those goals big, attainable, but big, and then maybe have some after that as well, that, think of it as like tiers of your goals or tiers of your dreams and where you want to go. And make sure you bring your friends and family along for the ride, because it is so much fun when you get to do this type of stuff, when you get to achieve what you really want to do. And I'm not saying any of you or all of you would ever want to do a trip like I did. Some people I think are crazy doing what we did in the size boat we did. But nonetheless, we did it. We had a freaking blast. It was a lot of fun. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. And so that's my message. All right, Locker Nation, thank you so much. And what I'll make sure you do is do this. Make sure you head over to iTunes and look up Lifestyle Locker Radio and give us a 5-star review. Pretty please. Give us a review, like us, share us with some friends. We have some great interviews on there. We have some stuff like this where you can listen to me rambling on about life and stories. Some of you, I think, do like it. Some of you don't. And that's all right. You can skip this one if you didn't like it, or listen to it again if you did. And do that. Share us on Facebook. Share us on social media. Like our page. And also, I'm on Instagram as @Dr. Josh Hant. Doctor, first name, last name, Josh Hant. And let's connect there. You can send me direct messages there. I absolutely love connecting with people that are in this group. that are listening to the podcast because we share some of the same things. A passion for health, a passion for lifestyle, a passion for life itself. So until next time, Locker Nation, peace out.